Who's the strongest demon in Demon Slayer? Excluding Muzan, who's obviously the strongest. I thought with the new season coming up in a few months, why not just get some Demon Slayer content going on the channel? I should preface that this discussion is going to be based purely within the anime, as I have not finished the manga yet, and it's just easier to avoid spoilers for me. So don't worry if you're not a manga reader, this video is completely safe as long as you've seen the anime. With that out of the way, let's get into it. I think this one's pretty obvious, but out of the 10 main demons we've been introduced to so far, the hand demon is by far the weakest. He was defeated by Tanjiro, who at that point in the story is pretty much at his weakest point as a demon slayer. He literally used his water breathing for the first time in that fight after going through his training, and he had far from mastered it at this point in the story as well. Plus, the hand demon had almost no feats in general aside from killing 13 of Orochidaki's students who were also not really strong, because none of them were even strong enough to become an actual demon slayer, so I think that kind of speaks for their strength. His most notable kill was Sabito, who could be compared to Tanjiro at this point as he also learned water breathing, but I think it's fair to assume that Tanjiro did surpass him during this fight. And as I mentioned, Tanjiro was really weak at this point compared to himself when he encountered all the other demons on this list. So yeah, the hand demon is just blatantly the weakest. I have both Yahaba and Sasumaru here, as they're both pretty similar to one another in power. I think you could argue Yahaba slightly above Sasumaru, but it's not really by that big of a margin. Again, this was relatively early in Tanjiro's career as a demon slayer, but he was able to pretty easily blitz Sasumaru and chop her arms off, compared to when he tried to do something similar to Yahaba, who was able to stop him, even when Tanjiro had a clear line to strike him. Also, Tanjiro did have help here from Yushiro, who put a tag on his forehead which gave him the ability to see Yahaba's arrows. I think that without that, it's pretty clear that Yahaba would be above Sasumaru. And despite all this, he still got outplayed by the arrows and missed his first chance to hit Yahaba. Either way, these two are pretty interchangeable, but I think at number 9 I'd put Sasumaru, and at number 8 I'd probably put Yahaba. Hyogai is the first demon that is really strong, I'd say, that Tanjiro encounters. With him being an ex-lower moon demon and all, he was excommunicated due to his weakness, but he still at one point was in the lower 6 demons, with him being the lower rank 6th moon. He used the drums that were embedded on his body to warp reality essentially by rotating the room that he was currently in, as well as attacking with a near invisible claw that Tanjiro had to really focus on in order to even dodge. I think that with his abilities and him at one point being in the lower moon ranks, that he is by far stronger than the demons that I've mentioned beforehand, but a decent bit weaker than all of the others ahead of him on this list, and I think him being at number 7 is a pretty fair assumption. Rui, also known as the Spider Demon, ended up being the main antagonist of Demon Slayer's first arc. I could have probably talked about all of the members of the Spider Demon family, but Rui is by far the strongest of the bunch, so that's why he's mentioned here and not the others. But anyways, yeah, Rui was really strong, and Tanjiro at this point was stronger than he was against all of the previous demons that I've mentioned. And he was still unable to finish off Rui even after using the most basic sun breathing technique, which is still extremely strong even though it's considered the weakest technique of sun breathing, because sun breathing is the strongest breathing technique in the entire series. But it was also highlighted that Rui was no match for a real Hashira, because as soon as Gyu showed up, he made light work of Rui. So I think just by default, Rui is going to be under all of the next few demons, but is still above the previous few by a decent amount. Also, Rui was the lower moon 5, so this ranking should still hold true. Enmu overall was pretty insane, as he got his head chopped off by Tanjiro but still lived and was revealed to be pretty much a part of the Mugen train. Enmu also had this ability to make people fall asleep and experience really vivid dreams, which in Tanjiro's case made him think that he was back with his family before they were killed. But this dream is able to be broken by cutting your own neck within the dream. This is also a really risky maneuver as well, because as highlighted when Tanjiro was cutting off his neck in the dream, he almost did it in real life and pretty much almost killed himself during the fight, if not for Inosuke saving him. Outside of that ability though, Enmu takes this monstrous form after his head is chopped off, and he put up a really good fight against Tanjiro, Inosuke, Nezuko, and Zenitsu. But as soon as Rengoku showed up, the fight was as good as over, and in a similar sense to Rui, Enmu didn't really stand a chance against a Hashira. And yes, Tanjiro did use sun breathing and did kill Enmu with it, unlike Rui, but Tanjiro's sword was also broken against Rui, so I mean, yeah. Enmu did outrank Rui, with Enmu being the lower moon 1, so I feel pretty confident about this placement. I put these two together as they kind of come in a pair. You have to slice both their necks in order to kill them at the same exact time, but I do think it was pretty obvious that Gyutaro was stronger than Daki. Daki herself was really strong though, with her still being virtually unkillable even without the fact that her brother has to be killed at the same time. Her neck is almost completely unbreakable due to her sash demon art. She can harden her neck while still making it flexible. This demon art is also insanely deadly on its own, due to the fact that she can control the sash and weaponize it. She also can make them move at speeds faster than Tanjiro's trained eye could even see, and this version of Tanjiro had mastered his breathing and even began using sun breathing naturally within his arsenal. But Daki would, without her brother, probably rank under Uzui, as he cut her head off without much trouble whatsoever. Granted, she was off guard and had been fighting Tanjiro, but yeah, he was still able to cut through her sash with ease. Her brother Gyutaro, on the other hand, put up a good fight against both Uzui and Tanjiro at the same time and nearly was able to win. His sickles that he made from his body poison the person that he's fighting, and if left untreated could end up killing you. He can also create blood blades for more ranged attacks and control Daki so that he can synchronize their attacks. He left Uzui without a hand and eye and ultimately ended up not killing him, nor did the duo end up killing any of the demon slayers. They ended up losing because Inosuke and Zenitsu were able to cut off Daki's head at the same time Tanjiro cut off Gyutaro's. These two were Upper Moon 6 and I think by default should just be above the previous demons, but yeah, they're still no joke and were really strong. This one is pretty self-explanatory. Nezuko at her full power was easily outclassing Daki with her demon art that allows her to set her blood on fire. This fire can burn demons and is able to heal people as she did to Uzui and everyone after the fight. Her healing capabilities were compared to an Upper Moon by Daki herself, who is an Upper Moon, with her stating that Nezuko's healing was better than her own. I think Nezuko is for sure above Daki without a doubt in my mind, but it's a bit more contentious on whether or not she's above Gyutaro, but me personally I think she probably is when she's in this state. I think everyone kinda saw this coming. Akuza is kind of nuts in terms of power, and up to this point he's the only demon we've seen taking on and killing a Hashira without trouble. It could be argued that he is weaker than Rengoku, due to Rengoku just overall being more impressive in that fight and the fact that Akuza was just healing the entire time, but it still is notable that he did not let Rengoku cut his head off. And overall in that fight, Akuza seemed pretty relative to Rengoku. His demon art pretty much enhances his already insane martial arts by giving him these shockwave attacks so that he is insanely deadly at a distance. And to top it off, he's Upper Moon 3, so yeah, again, by default, he should just be stronger than everyone I've talked about previously, and by a pretty large margin. Well, that's gonna do it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I wanted to wait till the end of this video before I say this, but I'm gonna start doing all of my discussions on this channel. I did talk about this in a community post, but I figured I'd also address it here. I think it's just better to have all of my eggs in one basket. Plus, I do get burnt on doing so much purely Naruto content. There's other anime and manga that I really want to talk about, such as Demon Slayer, for example, but I just haven't got around to it due to me trying to pump out Naruto content. Also, the uploads might be less frequent, but I'm gonna focus on longer, more quality videos for you guys. This could completely kill the channel or take it places that I never thought it would go. Who really knows? YouTube's never been about the views for me, and that's not going to change anytime soon. And I just want to thank all of you for sticking around through this long ride. So with that huge tangent out of the way, I do hope you guys stick around for the future. And as always, Trippy out. Peace.